Welcome aboard the National Football Show. It's your boy, Big Sills. The news in football is enormous right now, is it not? I mean, just think about something here for a second. What are the main movies and storylines that are on all social media that you see on television that kind of light that fire and kind of give you something to want to go to? And it's something that it just resonates. It's polarizing. It's politics and it's sports. And boy, do we have it, man. College football coaches, you tell me, if you were a successful college coach right now, would you really think about coaching in the NFL? Why? Brian Kelly was just offered a 10-year, $95 million deal to coach LSU. Why in the world would you want to coach in the National Football League and have to hear a bunch of crap from general managers and owners? It's incredible. Incredible. The storyline with Lincoln Riley and him going and taking that Southern Cal job, it's amazing. We're going to get to that here in a minute. You know, what I really do like, by the way, before we start, I tell you guys this all the time. We're going to get into our topic here. Guys, I appreciate you guys stepping in with us as you do each and every single day. We're loaded with stuff, too. We got Rick Gosselin, Hall of Fame voter, Talk of Fame Network. He'll be in hour number 2. We're trying to still run down our friend Mike Golic, too. He's doing something with Subway today, so hopefully he can step in with us. So we're trying to get an opportunity to have him jump aboard with us today as well and sit here and talk some football with us here. I love telling you this, guys. You bring the topics. I kind of fill it in too, but if you could do me a favor as we start the show, please hit that like button. You guys have been sensational the last couple of months, and I can't thank you enough for making the show one of the fastest growing shows, okay, at JAKIB and on YouTube. So here we go. You know, I love having a pregame conversation with my guy, Xander. I really do. You know, I had a topic, and I'm going to get to that other topic that I was going to bring up, but Xander's right about something. Now, the news today, Jalen Hurts has an ankle injury. The Eagles are going to go forward as he is going to play this weekend versus the Jets, but they're getting Gardner Minshew ready, and they're getting this guy ready to be able to go out there and take snaps against the Jets if need be, okay? So he will be prepared like he's a starter this week, which means you're probably going to split half the reps here, okay? So they're saying he's going to play Jalen Hurts, but they're preparing Gardner Minshew, so that's a good thing. Xander said something interesting to me, guys. You know, I think the reason that we see such inconsistency sometimes in the play calling, I think it comes down to commitment. Xander said something, and you know what? He's right. If you're going to name this kid the starting quarterback of your football team moving forward, the organization has to be committed on that style of play. When they hired Nick Sirianni, they weren't hiring Nick Sirianni because of his skill set with RPOs. They were hiring him because here is a good play caller. He got a great recommendation from Frank Reich. This is a guy that wants to throw the ball 38 times a game. How many times do you hear Gary Cobb say that? They are so in love with throwing the ball that it even gets in the way of game plans. We saw it against the Giants last week. Did we not? Will Howie and the owner of the Eagles be committed to this style? Man, I don't know. I don't know, because remember something. They also want to have that football team to be entertaining. Not that I think that has anything to do with winning. Sometimes you get Patrick Mahomes. Sometimes you get Phil Simms. You still win championships. Phil Simms has more championships than Patrick Mahomes. So, I mean, whatever style gets you across the finish line. Do you think ownership and the front office will be committed to Jalen 100%? I don't know that. I don't know that. However, your offensive line dictates that. What you've done in the O-line, now they are getting older. Are they going to continue to retool that offensive line? Are they going to go out and maybe get a power back? Are they, because, think about it. No disrespect to Boston Scott and to Miles Sanders. These guys are dudes. They're good players, but they're dudes. They're not Alvin Kamara, okay? They're not Dalvin Cook. They're not Derrick Henry, okay? That's a different breed of dude. You guys got guys. Zeke's out of gas in Dallas, okay? Pollard's the better back. You got issues all over Dallas. Amari Cooper with his money, but I'm talking more about the back situation here. So I would say to you this, do you truly believe that the Eagles will be committed on this style of play? I don't know, man. If I were to say, I'd say no. I'd say no. You could do so much with this style because if the Eagles were committed to Jalen, wouldn't they just go like this? This guy's our quarterback for the future. Even if they were lying, GMs and coaches lying, I think we're learning a lesson in that now on how coaches lie. I don't believe that they would be committed. Do you guys think they would be committed? Man, I just don't see it. But that's why I think we're seeing the inconsistency in play calling. Or as I said yesterday, situational play calling. They did run the ball 33 times for 206. It's a lot of yards. And at 6'3" a carry, that just shows you kind of what Xander said a little bit a couple minutes ago. So you have that dynamic in the game on your side of the stat sheet, and you're winning like that, and you decide to go away from that. Why? Because you're not committed, are you? It's a great observation. It's absolutely a great observation because your actions are not speaking to what you're saying or trying to do when it comes to developing the quarterback. Yeah, we're committed to Jalen. Yeah, we're committed. Then you throw the ball 31 times. It's almost like you're fighting your urge versus knowing what the right thing to do is, and that's run the ball. There is no question the commitment from the Eagles is not set in stone yet, or their actions would speak, and they're surrounding him with more talent would be evident. They're not basically, they're telling you one thing and doing another. We're committed to Jalen. We love him. See, the more they throw the ball, the more you're setting him up for failure. That's what we're saying here. If you see him throw the ball over 30 times in a game, they're setting him up for failure. You don't have experience at the wideouts. The only place you have experience is in the run game. Why would you get away from it? You set Jalen Hurts up for failure every single time he throws the ball over 30 times. So the commitment is in the philosophy, isn't it? On how they approach every game. Now, is that a directive from the front office? Who gets their directives from the owner? Hence, we get into that meddling again. Style versus content. And the content being wins and losses matter the most, not how it looks. So, are they committed? They're not showing you the commitment. Like in this recent Giant game, what would propel you not to keep running the ball, even if you were 3rd and 9? Run it. You were getting 6 yards a carry. You were moving the chains, and you were moving the clock. There were only 10 possessions in the fucking game, period. You didn't have numerous opportunities. That clock was going to run. The Giants ran the clock also on purpose. They limited series. So when you know that, and you have to know that when you're on the sidelines, this is going to be a quick game. They're not committed. Will know. How about this, guys? You know the game where he threw for very little yards, but they win the ball game. I can't think of the game. Okay? That was a perfect Jalen Hurts game. 150 yards throwing the ball, 70 on the ground, running game, 240 yards on the ground. Your defense playing lights out. That's the kind of game you want. That's the kind of game you want. So the commitment has to be in their actions. Am I right? Saints, thank you. Smile, Saints. Absolutely. One last, before we get to all you guys here, and I'm going to bring you guys in here in a minute, and I'll explain to everybody what to do with Jalen Reagor. It's not that simple just to say cut him. It's not that simple. You just can't do this. Well, let's just release him. No. You're going to try to get as much value as you possibly can. Don't screw this thing up like you screwed up the Wentz deal. Okay, this guy is a first-round draft choice. You do everything in your possible to try to get some asset back. Anything. 7th rounder, 6th rounder, whatever. A player. Maybe you trade a player. You try to do everything in your power, in my opinion, to try to move this kid. Got to get him off your roster. He's taking a roster spot up that you can use and somebody that could be more productive. He is a non-productive player on that roster. He hurts the Eagles' chances on winning games. When you got a player like that on your roster, Jalen Reagor, he hurts the Eagles' chances on winning. You move him in the offseason, you try to hide him on your roster now as much as possible. I don't know why Watkins is not getting more opportunities. He needs to, but it's time to have a come-to-Jesus conversation in that personnel department where people look at Jalen Reagor and go like this. It's time to sit down, son. Then you move him in the offseason. So maybe I'm answering it with 2 answers here. You sit him and then you move him. You got to get that guy's ass out of there and out of situations. You target a guy like that 8 times and you make him your number 1 go-to guy in a crucial NFC East game that you really needed to win to put the pressure on the Cowboys who are going into that Thursday night game banged up. Now Mike McCarthy's not going to be able to coach. They got chaos in that organization a little bit right now, and you lay an egg in New York. You lay an egg in New York. And again, this goes back to the main topic. Do you believe that the Eagles are going to be truly committed to the style of Jalen Hurts? And what to do with Jalen Reagor? What do you do with this guy? All right. Hey, guys, do me a favor again. Like the show. This is what we do. You guys bring anything to the table here. If you guys have posted something and I missed it, please, let's just hit on it here, and we'll put you in the mix here. We got a ton of stuff to hit on. I mean, these college coaches and the college carousel. Hey, real quick before I get to you guys, how would you like to be a player at Notre Dame and you're laying in bed and you look over at your phone and it's midnight and your coach texts you and says, hey, it's been nice, but I'm leaving and I'm fucking heading to LSU. And you guys are still in the mix for a national championship spot in the semifinals and your coach bails on you. How would you like that? By the way, I'm not talking about if it's right or wrong. Of course, you jump at a 10-year, $95 million deal at LSU. What are you, crazy? I'm not suggesting that. But it just shows you don't ever believe a coach, ever. They're liars. They're professional liars. How about this on my Twitter page? We've had him on our show, Tony Casillas, one of the greatest players in the history of Oklahoma Sooners football. Won a Lombardi Award, second player taken by the Falcons in '85. He started following Lincoln Riley's when Lincoln Riley got the job at SC. You know what he did? He blocked him because he didn't want to follow any longer any of the legendary Oklahoma Sooner players. I was like, what a low life. He's such a salesman. And again, 10 years, $95 million bucks, I'm doing it too. So we'll talk more about that. The rights and the wrongs, and then the reality of it. All right. As I said to you guys, these two topics are pretty essential in what's going to happen with this football team as we move forward, is it not? It's not so much that Jalen Hurts is not a good football. We all know he's a good football player. But are they going to be committed to that style? Are they going to be committed? And what to do with Jalen Reagor? I say sit him and then move him. Okay? Sit him, then move him. Big Chris says, Jimmy G looking good, man. You know what, Big Chris? I threw this off, too, when we were doing our pregame show. I think Jimmy Garoppolo would look sensational in Philadelphia green. 6 straight games now. He's been over 100 QBR. They're winning again. The only question on him is really durability. He's a good football player. Look at his one-loss record. Garoppolo's got a great one-loss record as a starting quarterback. He's got a great number. Okay? And he's a pretty young kid. And he's not going to cost you $40 million bucks. That's something that the Eagles would love. You're looking at a $32 million a year guy instead of paying 42 or up in the 40s. Get him a new contract. Jimmy Garoppolo could win with that football team. Because you know why? Garoppolo would know he got to run the ball. East Canham says, don't want him. Isn't that funny? Matt P just says this. Belichick loved Jimmy G. Why do you think? Because he's a winner. You know what, too? Matt, to your point, let's take a look at that. So wait a minute. Belichick drafts Brady. He drafts Matt Castle, who won a division title for Kansas City and won 11 games when he was in New England when Brady was hurt. He drafted Jacoby Brissett. He drafted Jimmy Garoppolo, and now he's drafted Mac Jones, who's going to be the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year and maybe get to an AFC Championship game. I think that guy knows quarterbacks, don't you? Don't you think Belichick knows quarterbacks? His record indicates that. You're telling me you think that Howie Roseman knows quarterbacks more than what Bill Belichick does? Are you crazy? Every quarterback that Bill Belichick has drafted has gone on to get a contract on another team and start at one time or another. Old Cole says, we just got rid of an injured Carson Wentz. That's a great take, Old Cole. You're right. Easy Money says, any decent quarterback could win 10 games with this current staff. Eagles O-line is top tier. No question. Absolutely no question. Big Chris, Jimmy G would be protected with this O-line, and he's accurate. Mac is looking great, Ken says. Belichick is a quarterback factory. And get this, so is Nick Saban. Who would have thought Nick Saban, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, would be a quarterback factory at Alabama? Alabama? Guys, they were great in the 60s and early 70s at quarterback with Stabler and Namath. Then Richard Todd. Then it dried up, and they didn't have anybody in the game. Jeff Rutledge and stuff like that. There was nobody in the game. And all of a sudden now, they've changed their offense, and they're a spread offense now. Tagovailoa starting and doing very well. Carlos says front office is a bullshit factory. Which ones aren't? East Canada for life. We back talking about quarterbacks again. No. I'm just talking about Jimmy. Well, wait a minute here. It's another great point. I think Jalen Hurts has earned the right, guys, for the full year evaluation of 17 games. That's all I've signed up for. That's all I've signed up for. Could he be the future of this team? Yeah. You know why? Because if there's nobody out there that the Eagles can't grab, I'm very comfortable with Jalen Hurts as my quarterback. But if I can upgrade that position like any other position on the field or even coach, why wouldn't I address that? Chris says Hurts is pro feet college arm. You think Tom Brady had a great arm when he came out? It's Castor Green. Jalen Hurts is the guy for me this year and next year. So you want to give him 2 years. Green, I'm okay with that. But if we're in a conversation maybe with Jimmy Garoppolo or Russell Wilson is not playing in Seattle. He is not playing in Seattle. And to what Xander was talking to me about prior to going on the air here, who do you think the owner and the general manager would be more committed to? Jimmy, here. I think this is great. Who do you think the Eagles would be more committed to? Okay? And their style. Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo, or Jalen Hurts? Let's put those three in the machine. Which one of those three do you think Nick Sirianni would be committed to? Russell Wilson? Jimmy Garoppolo? Jimmy Garoppolo also coached by Kyle Shanahan and Bill Belichick? Jesus. You don't think he doesn't understand systems? I like that pedigree. Hey, you think there's any coincidence that Mac Jones and the success that he's having in New England? Guys, follow me here. His coaches were Nick Saban and Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniel. I mean, surely you think there's something to that. These are three head coaches in the NFL at one time or another. One's the greatest college coach of all time. The other's the greatest NFL coach. And he's got a guy who was the heir apparent to take over for Belichick in New England and Josh McDaniel, who was the head coach in Denver. I mean, guys, that's pretty – how could he fail? Oh, Chris is saying this now. Wait a minute here. There could be something to that, Chris. It's an Italian thing. So maybe so, because I am very partial to Italian guys. Fly says, I'm still in on Hurts. I am too. Fly. No way, Fly. I'm with you on that. I'm not overpaying for – from what I've seen so far with Jalen Hurts, I'm not overpaying for anything. I'm not surrendering 3 first-rounders for Deshaun Watson, I don't think. And I do think also, too, Krause Jr. and I were talking about this. I think the running through the tape is going to also tell us a little more about how we feel about him. Is that fair? Right now, we're doing this on Jalen. We're talking about commitment now from the organization. We're talking about his style and the proper evaluation time. I think it's enough. He runs through the tape, 17 NFL football games. Okay, you're going to be over 20-some-odd starts. I think that's fair. What they've done in Cleveland by going over, 58 games now is obnoxious. You know who Baker Mayfield is. Like, you know who that guy is. He's not changing in any way who he is. Fly says Baker Mayfield was drafted. He was drafted number 1 overall. And I look at him and I'm like this. That guy's not the number 1 pick in the draft. The results you're getting. Hey, Fly, I want to show you guys something about getting. Guys, let me show you something here. Do you think the Matthew Stafford, this goes into the Eagles going out and getting a free agent quarterback here. Guys, do you think the Matthew Stafford deal has been good or bad in Los Angeles? You think it's been good or bad? Do you think it's been good or bad? The dealing with the Rams. I mean, they surrendered a boatload of first rounders and a third rounder. Easy money says bad. Stafford needs a running game. You know what? Hey, Paul, I've been hearing that since Detroit. How many times are we going to keep giving that excuse for that guy? X says overrated. I don't want the Eagles wasting these first rounders. Alden Hutchinson, I love that kid. Okay, let me go with my spin here. Do you know 4 of the last 5 years that Jared Goff was in Los Angeles? You know what the record was? They were 7-4. Do you know what their record is right now? They're 7-4. So don't you think surrendering 2 1s and a 3 that you would be looking down at your ledger sheet and going like this? Man, I gave the same shit up to be in the same place. I'm in the same place I was, and look at the stuff I gave away to be in the same place. Jared Goff at least got you to a Super Bowl. Hey, and by the way, in no way am I saying Matthew Stafford, just optics-wise. You see he's a better quarterback, but the results aren't there. The Rams are in the same place they were last year and 4 of the last 5 years. And you gave 2 1s up and a third rounder to be in the same place? That is a lot to give up. That's what you've got to think about. If you're going to move off of Jalen Hurts, you go out and you get somebody and you bring him in and you give up first rounders and you fuck up, you're going to set your franchise back 10 years. You're in the same place in LA as you were last year through 11 games. And 4 of the last 5 years, Goff was in Los Angeles. And you know what's funny? I keep hearing the same stuff like you guys were mentioning. Needs a running game. Okay, geez, you got Cooper Kupp. They brought in Odell Beckham. Your old line's not bad. Your defense, Xander's boy, Aaron Donald. He hates when I say that. Jalen Ramsey. Now you bring in Von Miller. I mean, guys, you got to be kidding me, right? So you gave up all that equity for you to be able to do this. All right. I just got a text from Mike Golic. He's going to try to come on here at 4:30. So we're going to take a timeout, and Mike Golic will join us, and we'll get his thoughts on what he thinks with Jalen Hurts. We'll do it next. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Welcome back. National Football Show. Your boy Dan Sileo. The world of college football is now a gigantic moneymaker. Don't ever think when these coaches are telling you that they're recruiting that, hey, look, we'd love to have you come here and play. We're thinking about, you. I'll take care of you like you're my kid. These coaches are all salesmen, and they're all looking for the best opportunity. Look at how they parachute out of some of these places. Again, I'm not so much hating on Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley. I'm more hating on the game, okay? The game allows these coaches to do this. Brian Kelly, he did it to the kids at Cincinnati when they were getting ready to play Tim Tebow's Gator team in the Sugar Bowl. Guy texted his team, left, went to Notre Dame. Lincoln Riley, same thing. You're telling me really that you got a call from Southern Cal on Saturday, and all the years that you spent in Norman, Oklahoma, you guys within a matter of 4 hours decided that it was in the best interest for you to leave Norman, Oklahoma and go to USC over a 4-hour conversation with your wife. Really? Come on, man. Those are life-altering situations. You don't just sit there over 4 hours and go, you know what? I'm not even going to sleep on it. I'm going to jump at the USC gig. My point is that those coaches were talking with administrators and their agents were the entire time. Look, Lincoln Riley may be telling the truth that it came down to a Saturday night call, but his agents and everybody behind the scenes were working. You don't think Brian Kelly's agent and his handlers were fielding professional football calls? Again, if I was at Notre Dame and I got a text message from my head football coach at midnight that I was leaving and I'm still in the mix for a national championship semifinal spot, I'd be a little pissed. I get the game, though. I'm not begrudging anybody. 10 years, $95 million, I get it. Hey, I can't wait to talk to Mike Golic on this because he's a Notre Damer, and we bring him in now with us. And, Mike, I got to tell you, man, I first want to start there before we go, and I was going to get you on and talk some Eagles first, but, Mike, hey, Mike, you know what? I'm not really pissed off that the guy took the dough. It's really sleazy, I think, the way it went down. Midnight text messages and you're not going to finish the tape. Just your thoughts on how you see this.
Well, I guess I would listen. 10 years, 20 years ago, I'd be ranting about this, how you do it, why you do it, under contract, you leave. But listen, you and I have been in this game long enough, man. This is how it works now. And so I guess I would ask, what's the perfect scenario? What will make it okay? What will make it say, oh, you know what? He handled that really well. He's still leaving us. We may be in the playoffs, or we're going to be in a New Year's Six bowl. So what's the way to do it? And I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. A midnight text to a player saying, let's meet, Tuesday morning. And I think the meeting was like 11 minutes. I mean, listen, one thing that's difficult to do is ask a college kid to get up at 7 a.m, as we all know. So that's a difficult time to have a meeting unless there's a football practice involved in it. Maybe there was in that, but I listen. Does it sound bad? Yes, but when he left Cincy to go to Notre Dame, he didn't even talk to the players, and I hated that. I hate that. At least he made the effort to talk to the players. He obviously wanted to go, and we can get into the reasons why he wanted to go. But I guess, midnight text isn't great, caught everybody off guard. Everybody's like, what the hell just happened? But I guess I would ask, what's the perfect scenario that says, okay, I'm cool with this?
You know what, Mike? Maybe I'm hating the player, not the game. I mean, there's no guardrails for this here. No. So, I mean, Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley, they're allowed to do this. This is because this is one of the collateral damages too, Mike, of early signing. Right. That you've got to get these coaches in and out of here. So maybe we need more guardrails in this.
Well, I was just talking with someone. They're like, why couldn't he wait, until after the bowl game? I said, because in 2 weeks is the early signing period. So while it helps LSU, it certainly hurts Notre Dame, for guys they had committed and guys that they want to commit. But that's the reason why, to use every cliche in the book, the toothpaste is out of the tube, the horse is out of the barn. It ain't going back. This is what happened. So we could yell and scream about it. People say, "Oh, why don't let him have an out clause. Don't pay him as much money." Yeah, okay. Good luck getting a coach then, because it's already happened. It's not going backward. NIL is here. Players are getting paid. That's going to keep happening. Hopefully not by the schools, because that'll start a whole nother thing going. But we're in a new era of college ball. Players are transferring it at the highest rate ever. So as much as we blame coaches who have committed, players are doing it. Players commit to a scholarship and then they leave. And I'm not blaming anybody, man. Go ahead. People are doing what's right for them. Brian Kelly left because he felt it was right for him. My opinion is certainly a money bump. He wasn't making $9.5 million at Notre Dame. And listen, at Notre Dame, when my boys were there, he got in the title game in the 2012 season. They lost. They got to the playoffs a couple of times. They got bounced in the semis pretty bad. So I think, and that's where Notre Dame is. Maybe one of the years they can win a title, go that far and win it. We know it hasn't happened since '88. Other than that, they can make the playoffs. Certainly when it goes to 12 teams, they can. But then how far can they get? And then they go back a little bit, and then they rise up a little bit. Brian Kelly, I think one of the only things not in his resume is that FBS national championship. And I think he feels he can be consistently in a better position with players that he can recruit. Not to say that Notre Dame can't recruit great players. LSU can create a deeper roster of them. Because, listen, it's now no secret Notre Dame, Stanford, there are different academic requirements to get in. So the depth of 4 or 5 stars can be more at different schools like LSU. So I think Brian feels he has a better chance to actually cap off a season with a national championship.
Fine. One last one on Notre Dame before I get to the Eagles here with you, Mike. I said this to somebody the other day. When I played against Notre Dame and you guys back in the day, the Tim Browns were there. It just seemed to be, and I know Notre Dame gets 5-star kids, but there just seemed to be guys that could get you to that national title, guys that were. Now I look at it, it's like 17% acceptance rate. Do you know what it is at Alabama? It's 87. They set it up so that when Nick Saban wants 20 kids, they're getting those 20 kids. When Notre Dame and Brian Kelly puts 20 names in front of admissions, you're getting half that at best for those kids. I say this to you, Mike. Can you really win a national championship in today's landscape at Notre Dame?
Well, obviously it's very difficult since, the last time they won it, these college players weren't even born. So what does Notre Dame do? I mean, they have said in the past, they're not, listen, when Urban Meyer was being courted for that job last time around, he wanted them to loosen the restrictions and they wouldn't. So Notre Dame is sticking to their guns with that. And here's the thing. Notre Dame, everybody screams, Notre Dame getting a conference, Notre Dame do this, Notre Dame do that. Notre Dame, more than anybody, knows full well where they are. They're not in a conference and it can cost them, but they choose to not be there. Okay. They have academic restrictions. that can restrict them. They choose that. And players know it going in. Everybody knows it going in. Notre Dame is fully aware of it. So if they're fine with it right now, then so be it. That's all that matters. It may change down the road. If being in a conference is more beneficial, then they'll join one. If relaxing the academic standards at some point they want to do that, they'll do it. But right now, they more than anybody know exactly the position they're in.
Mike, let me go over to the Eagles now with you. You and I will always look at trends and what teams do over a collective quarter, like first 4 games of a season, the next 8. That's how I think how guys who played the game, I think that's how we see it. We don't look at 60 minutes of football. Obviously, they lay a gigantic egg up in New York, and they run the ball 33 times for 206. They got away from it, 4 turnovers. I get that all. The way he's played Jalen Hurts, I think it's an opportunity for them to go forward with the kid. Am I sold that he is going to be a franchise guy to see the ticker tape falling down on him? I'm not sure yet. What says you on Jalen Hurts?
Oh, I think he's the quarterback there. I mean, because then go to the other side. Who are you getting? Where are you going? Are you going to start all over again? Listen, I think early on they put way too much on him. They weren't running the ball. They were making him throw it a lot or scramble. Then, oh my God, look what happened when they started running the ball the last 4 weeks or so. They're getting over 200 yards. They're winning. Now, one thing they're not good enough yet at is overcoming turnovers. Not many teams are. They had the turnovers against the Giants, and they couldn't overcome them. So they put themselves now in a hole to try and get back into it with a cluster of teams into some sort of wild card race. But no, I agree. Jalen Hurts, to me, gets that opportunity to be the future quarterback of the Eagles, yes.
What do you make of Nick Sirianni and how he's handled himself, Mike? Like the beginning of the year, like you said, they weren't running the ball at all.
Right.
But, Mike, for you and me, when you see a coach changing his personality and you see him changing and listening, well, let's run the ball then. Doesn't that create confidence in the locker room that your coach is willing to adapt?
Without question. Again, players, just how I said, Notre Dame knows exactly where they are. You know this. We both know it. We know what's going on in the locker room and on the field. We know it. So if you know something's not working, and you just keep banging your head against the wall, you start to look at the coaches saying, what the hell are we doing? But that coach that can adapt and say, okay, this isn't working. We need to switch it up and try and find success doing something else like he's done. Yeah, that absolutely builds confidence. Like, okay, we can win with this guy. He's not so stubborn that he's saying, it's my way no matter what. And if it doesn't work, it's your guy's fault. He's willing to say, okay, this isn't working. Let's adapt.
Mike, 2 last questions for you, NFL questions. Are you surprised with the success of Mac Jones in New England?
I mean, under Bill Belichick, no. I mean, I don't know what you were saying last year, but all the people that were saying, oh, well, I guess we found out it was Brady and not Belichick. I mean, come on. Everybody remember they had the most COVID opt-outs, did New England last year. They had a new quarterback in Cam Newton, and we saw, Cam this year starting. It still isn't very good. Remember, he did get beat out by a rookie in Mac Jones. Bill Belichick knows how to coach. And while we can talk about the progression of Mac Jones, their defense is playing lights out right now. And when you play that well on defense, you're giving your offense a chance. And what they're giving this offense a chance is for Mac Jones to mature on the fly, and he's doing a great job of it.
Mike, final question for you. If you're Sean McVay and you're Les Snead and you're Kevin Demoff in the front office of the Rams, I'm going to throw a stat at you, Mike. Last 4 of the 5 years that Jared Goff was in Los Angeles, after 11 games, they were 7-4. You're 7-4 right now again. You're in the same place you were before. You gave up 2 1s and a 3 to be in the same place you were last year. I mean, if you're looking back on it, and by the way, the optics are, if you look at Matthew Stafford versus Jared Goff, in no way am I going, that guy's better. The optics tell you. Just watching him play, he's a better thrower of the football, and he sees the game more. However, the results are the same. Are you having buyer's remorse here a little bit if you're the Rams here?
See, I think where the Rams are, there's no such thing as buyer's remorse because that's all they're doing.
They got a different credit card.
They do. That's all they're doing. They're not looking back. Who knows when their next draft pick is? Could be in 2030 for all I know. So this is the way they choose to do business. They're going to hit on some and they're going to miss on some. I think, like you think, and I think they know it, Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback. So they're hoping that will bear itself out as the season goes forward, and most notably, hopefully, in the playoffs for them. We're doing it now, everything else be damn team right now. So I personally don't think they have buyer's remorse. I mean, they can't. They're buying so much. Sometimes I think they forget what they're buying, but they're buying it.
Mike, as you leave here, you're doing so much. Are you having fun trying to find that next thing that's going to spark that desire to want to be committed to it again? Is there something, because a guy like you, man, look, playing in the NFL, legendary radio career, I mean, is there something that you're looking at where you went, I think I'm landing on that right there?
Well, Dan, what I did this year is I did basically everything. I mean, from calling college, calling pros, podcasts, the Monday morning TV I'm doing as well, and a few other things. And I did that on purpose just to kind of see where I wanted to end up next year. Next year, I'll definitely be doing less, but I picked what I wanted to do this year, and I picked more than I should have done. But that was on purpose. So yeah, next year I will streamline into what direction I want to go. Where that's going to totally be yet, I'm not sure. I have some choices to make. But yeah, that was a plan all along, to eventually get into something now that I'm 58, as opposed to getting into something when I was 30. They're two different ball games there. I need to enjoy life still a little more right now for all the work that I put in.
Bad word to use after Thanksgiving, streamline for me. Hey, Mike, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you so much, brother.
You got it, Dan.
You got it, man. That's Mike Golic. All right. Hey, do me a favor, guys. Like the show. Did you hear what Mike Golic said? Okay, Mike Golic sold on Jalen Hurts. Let's hit on that next. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that. Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Welcome back. National Football Show. Your boy Dan Sileo. Great for Mike to join us. He was doing a Subway commercial. Yeah. So he he stopped what he was doing and he was able to come on with us, and he made the comment to you guys. All right. I mean, yeah, no, I'm sold. Mike Golic is sold on Jalen Hurts. That had a lot of commitment behind it. By the way, also, I was a little bit shocked that he wasn't ticked off in the way that Brian Kelly left Notre Dame. He's like, it's the game, Dan. And I guess that's what it really comes down to here. It comes down to, hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. These guys are afforded that opportunity, coaches, to do that. You know what always really bugged me, though? That a coach can go from one institution to another, not have to sit out, but a player does. Why? I always had that problem, right? Well, the coach doesn't have to sit out. Lincoln Riley doesn't have to sit out. Why should a player have to sit out if he wants to transfer from Oklahoma to Southern Cal? Right? Why is it set up for the player to be humbled and not the coach? He's leaving people behind too. Always kind of bugged me that way. So I was pretty shocked when he said about Jalen Hurts here. Said that, yeah, man, they thought we even brought that up too, that they put too much on the table for the kid, that they really were throwing everything at him at once. There was a lot on his table. That's when they started running the ball and they were able to, help him out more. That's why I say, and I'll continue to say this, the more that he throws the ball in football games, the more he is set up for failure. Chalk it up, Sports Philly. If I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm going to Smitty at the minimum 10 times per game. Okay? Listen, dude, you got it. Hey, you, without a doubt, you can't have this kid throwing the ball 30-plus times. The Eagles have to run the ball 40. Trev, appreciate it, brother. Fly says, we blame Wentz for not passing to Reagor. And JJ, let's face it. Hey, dude, I'm with you. Okay? Big Chris, sometimes you got to sling it to win it, man. Chris, you don't. You think they sling it in Tennessee? And you know what else? Something to that style of football. And again, we started the program out. Do you think the front office is going to be committed to Jalen Hurts' style of football? I guess that's what it comes down to, right? It's his particular style. Do they like that style of quarterback? It also tells you that they may not be in love with Lamar Jackson's style of play. I don't want to have a quarterback like that. I want a quarterback that's going to sit in the pocket because I'm going to get more out of my coach also. Okay? I'm going to get more out of my coach designing plays than I am going to be doing those RPO things. Paul says, you really think that the owner of the Eagles wants to run the ball 50 times? But why is that such a factor in our conversation? Lou, I'll tell you this. Goddard and Smith are great weapons. That's what Lou says. Guess what, Lou? Know this. Let's put this in there now. If you were a big-time wide receiver and you wanted to play in the NFL for a particular team that's a winning team like Baltimore, would you guys go to Baltimore if you were like Julio Jones? Say you were Odell Beckham, or say you're Devontae Adams. Would a place like Tennessee and Baltimore be a place that you'd want to go play? No. You're not going to get the targets. You're just not going to get the targets. So guess what Howie Roseman's concerned with? We start running the ball 50 times. Free agents, man, they're not going to want to come here. Wideouts, they're not going to come and want to play in Philadelphia. They're not going to get the looks, which means we're not going to be very talented at the perimeter. And get this, folks, it's not that you're not talented at the perimeter right now. You're very inexperienced at the perimeter. Matt P says Julio Jones is doing nothing in Tennessee. Well, did you think he was going to do anything in Tennessee with Ryan Tannehill? My friend, you didn't really think he was going to go there and get 100 catches, did you? You didn't really think that Antonio Brown was going to go to Tampa Bay and get 100 catches, did you? When you go to places like that, if you're thinking you're going to get 100 catches, you can put that shit away. You're not getting those. This is all about winning ball games. Okay? You got to know something. If I'm a potential free agent and I'm looking at a place to land, and I'm looking at a place where they throw the ball and I'm going to get a lot of touches, you're damn right I'm going to go to Kansas City. You're damn right I'm going to go and try to get to Tampa Bay, Packers, places like that. Why would I see when you just grab the money bag, you're going to be out of there in 2 years. Do you guys remember that guy? What was his name who played in Pittsburgh years ago? His name was Mike Wallace, I think it was. Do you remember? He was a favorite target of Ben Roethlisberger. This was years ago, and I think Bruce Arians was the offensive coordinator. You guys remember that guy? His name was Mike Wallace. He goes down to Miami, and this was after like 100 catch year. He goes down to Miami. I think he has like 60-some catches or maybe even 57 catches. Yeah, Trev, he went to the Dolphins, and he was terrible. He was terrible. Sometimes, man, grass isn't greener on the other side, and you got to go to places that can get you the rock. So if you're looking now, and again, this goes back to what Xander said at the beginning of the show here. Can you be committed to that style, and are you going to be attractive enough? Listen, you got $50 million of money that's going to be out there for you to use when it comes to free agent money. Signing your players in the draft, too. You're going to have a lot of cash. And you're going to have a lot of draft choices. Is the Philadelphia Eagles right now, do you think that that's a place that attracts free agents to want to come and play? Like if you were Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Devontae Adams, Alvin Kamara, people like that, would you be sitting around going like this? Hey, man, I can't wait to get in the offseason, and I can't wait to get over and talk to Howie. You see their quarterback, what they're trying to develop? If players see what's going on, they know where the hot landing. Who would have ever thought Tampa Bay is the hottest place in the league to go to now? Okay? Right? I mean, you have to make it also. Paul says no one wants to play for Howie. Hoss, I'm going to show you something. And Paul, I'm going to put that to rest for you, okay? Brian, he played for the Eagles. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. DB talking now. Thank you, Tom Brady, for that one. Right. Watch this, though, Brian. How many people went like this morning when you heard the Brian Kelly news? Brian Kelly, LSU? Does that seem like a good fit? I went like this to my friend. 10 years, $95 million. That's a good fit. You could fit in anywhere. At $95 million, you're fitting anywhere. I'll make that work. Oh, you want me to change? No problem. Eagles start offering money to players. They'll come. Lou, money talks. Okay? Oh, so wait a minute. You're going to go like this, Lou. Watch this. Remember something, Lou? These are NFL guys. You go to an NFL guy and you go, I'll give you 10 years, $95 million to come and play in Philadelphia. And you got a deal on the table to go play in Dallas for 10 years at $65 million. You think they're going to take the Cowboys because it's the Cowboys? I'm going to take the most money. Should it be reversed even if it went like this? Cincinnati is going to offer me 10 years, $95 million, and the Cowboys are going to offer me 10 years, $64 million. I'm going to Cincinnati. This is a league on money, dude. When you play football, you play for the money. Oh, and by the way, one thing on Mike Golic, what he said about Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly reminds me of the chips and no sauce. Okay? Or the sauce and no chips. This guy did all the greatest things in the world at Notre Dame, except for one thing, win a national title. He'll never be in the conversation with Ara Parseghian Rockne, Leahy, okay, Holtz. He'll never be in that conversation. Well, Brian Kelly won a shitload of games at Notre Dame. And I thought the objective to go to Notre Dame was to win national championships. That just shows you. He got a 10-year, 90. Here's what makes it even more fucked up, guys. Brian Kelly got a 10-year, $95 million deal for getting killed by Nick Saban twice. He got killed by Nick Saban twice. And they fired a guy who beat Saban. Just because he was at, we're going to find out how good Lincoln Riley and also Brian Kelly are. All right, hour 2 coming up. We have our friend Rick Gosselin. What's wrong with the Cowboys? They got a big game coming up on Thursday. Guys, I think they're going to drop that game. Rick's also a Hall of Fame voter. I want to get his thoughts on Pete Carroll. I think it's time for Pete Carroll maybe to move on out of the NFL because that thing is a train wreck. After last night, I can't believe how bad the Seahawks look. He's 70 years old. Is it time for a change in Seattle? We'll do that. Please do me a favor. Hit the like button, guys. You guys are spectacular. We'll be right back. You keep it right here on the National Football Show.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Welcome back. National Football Show. It's your boy Big Sills. Hour 2. Rick Gosselin at the bottom of the hour. He will join us and we'll get his thoughts on the meltdown that is the Dallas Cowboys. Hall of Fame voter too, so he'll be with us at the bottom of the hour. I'll tell you something about this Tyler Heineke kid. You know, it shows you a little bit about finding quarterbacks. You know what the problem with Tyler Heineke in Washington is? You don't believe it. You're not believing what you're seeing. It's kind of like with Jalen. You're not believing it. So wait a minute. In 2 games against Tom Brady, this guy's 1-1. And he was a score away from taking The lead in that playoff game last year? Okay. You see, sometimes you got the guy in your building and you don't even know it. Who was that guy that the Eagles had? How did Rasul Douglas get out of Philadelphia? Can somebody help me there? How did Rasul Douglas get out of Philly? Because he was cut in 19. Guys, you didn't even trade him. You fucking cut him. You cut him. Like, you didn't get nothing in. You cut him. How did Rasul Douglas get? He is killing it right now with the Packers. He's killing it. I know he went down, didn't work out in Carolina. I've been watching him the last couple weeks. Aaron Rodgers raves about him. Devontae Adams is giving the front office, Gutekunst, all sorts of love. Remember this guy who was killed in the offseason because of all the Aaron Rodgers stuff? That guy brings that guy in, and now he's a Pro Bowler. Smile. He's going to the Pro Bowl. He may be the Pro Bowler and All-Pro this year. Dude, he's great. Lou D said they just let him go. They did that to Douglas Darby and Sidney Jones. 215 says, I blame 80% Eagle fans. They hated Rasul when it was obvious he could play. Brian says that Rasul was trash here. You know what, too, Brian? When I see something like that, that's also on coach's development. DB says Jim Schwartz didn't use him right. Doesn't it always show you, too, sometimes schemes and coaches not putting players in the proper perspective to be able to win, okay? You just may not be a good fit in that system. You just may not be good in that system. Hey, all I'm saying is I was covering the team from 30,000 feet. Now that I'm looking it in the eye a little bit, somebody from Green Bay goes like this. You know, this kid, Rasul Douglas, played a few years in Philly. I'm like, yo, what happened? They trade for him? He goes, no, they cut him. I'm like, they cut him? You cut that guy? That guy is an all-pro, man. That guy's fucking playing great football for them. He's one of their stars. Now, I always liked Douglas. Jeremiah says, Brian, sometimes systems, man. I'll give you a great example. One of my friends, Burt Grossman, first 2 years in the NFL, he's drafted by the Chargers. He has 20 sacks. They get a new coordinator, new coaching staff. Over the next 3, he has 7 total. Sometimes, man, coach changes the system up, player skill set completely gets destroyed. It really is all about the coaching staff. It really becomes that. So that's an issue. Seattle not getting a first for Wilson. Hey, East Camden, no way. Russell Wilson, by the way, Russell Wilson played bad last night. That was a poor game last night by Russell Wilson. Okay? That was a poor game. Make no mistake about that. That was a poor football game by him. That's probably one of the worst games I've seen Russell Wilson play in a long time. Really was. Not a very good football game. So, absolutely. And maybe the fact is, he's surrendered too a little bit here. His O-line stinks, it does. But again, that comes down to Pete Carroll. And you know what too, Big Chris? His O-line may stink. But at the end of the day, the O-line stinks because they don't have a running game. They have not been able to replace beast mode. All right, let me get back into a little bit here with, again, I saw this and I'm really glad you guys told me about Rasul Douglas because he's killing it in Green Bay. He is absolutely killing it. You know, in the first hour, we asked what to do with Jalen Reagor, and I told you guys what to do. I say personally that you guys have to sit this guy because he hurts that football team being out there when he's in the huddle. He hurts them. Watkins needs more catches. He needs more reps. He needs more targets. Develop Watkins and develop Smith. You know, and get this, if your experience is Jalen Reagor, then you're in trouble. Then you're in trouble, guys. That's right, guys. Hey, way to go, Joey B. Do me a favor, guys. Please hit that like button. Guys, thank you so much, man. Great first hour. It was awesome. You guys killed it, as you always do. Thank you so much for doing that. So please hit that like button. Thank you so much. You guys are fantastic. Okay. So again, with what Mike Golic said just in the previous hour, Mike Golic was like this: I'm completely sold that Jalen Hurts is a starter moving forward. The topic that we brought up in the first hour was, do you believe that the front office and ownership will be committed to Jalen Hurts' style of play? Okay. Will they be committed? Also, I want to hit on this. I was just bringing up here a little bit with Tyler Heineke. Hey, don't look now, but Washington's 5-6. Okay. Washington's 5-6. The Eagles may get some help on Dallas here because Washington's playing as good a foot. You know what? Washington may be playing the best football in the NFC East right now. Don't go to sleep on Washington. They're running the ball, and Heineke can play. So if you're Dallas, this Saints game, if you drop this Saints game on Thursday, you're in trouble. You're in trouble if you drop that Saints game. God, the Eagles had it, man. Guys, they had it. They go into the Meadowlands and they just shit the bed like that. God, that's aggravating, man. Okay? Just, you got to be kidding me, man. You just laid an egg like that. Big Chris says Washington might smash the Eagles twice. Chris, I would like to see our O-line versus Washington's defensive line. I know that Chase Young's not in there, but guess what? I'll take my O-line over them. If they're committed to running the ball, I think Philadelphia can run them off the field. You ran the Saints off the field. I think the Saints are a better defensive unit than Washington. You can't tell me they're not better coached in New Orleans because they are better coached. Dennis Allen plus Sean Payton. I'm not saying Ron Rivera's not a good coach because he is a great coach. But I like what they do in New Orleans. There's some good coaches. Mickey Loomis, the general manager, it's a great setup. The Benson family has been completely committed into winning ball games there. And I do think Taysom Hill's going to play a lot against Dallas on Thursday. I'm just telling you, man. Look out for Washington. They win that game this weekend, they're 6-6 on the season. And they're going to be coming for Dallas. DB talking now. If we get Brandon Brooks back before then, hey, man, I'm telling you, I can't wait for that. Washington's after the bye, right? East Side Monster just makes a great point. Yeah, Washington should be easier for us than the Giants. Yeah, but Monster, man, personally, I think we shit the bed in the game plan and situational play calling in that game. Okay, I really do, man. I think they shit the bed, man. 31 passes. He is not a 31 passing quarterback. He's not. Steve H says Taysom Hill is starting that game. Okay, well, get this now. When you play against somebody like Taysom Hill in a system like that, Steve, you know what that's like playing against? Here, let me give you a for instance. You play against traditional quarterbacks that drop back 7 steps all the time. You get into a rhythm. You understand what you're facing. Occasionally, you'll have to play somebody like Lamar or Jalen, and you'll have to prepare for that. There's more RPO stuff, more run plays from the quarterback position when you're taking on those. When you're taking on a guy like Tyson Hill, it's like you have to prepare for the veer or you have to prepare for the wishbone. Like you never played the wishbone. When we played against Oklahoma, we had 2 weeks always to prepare for Oklahoma because you don't see the wishbone. This was back when they ran the wishbone. Now they don't. They spread everything out. And when Lincoln Riley was there and even when Bob Stoops was there, they spread you out. That's what they are. They've completely changed their identity on what they used to do. But when they were back in Barry Switzer's day, they ran that bone. And occasionally they would run a veer when they had Marcus Dupree. But what you did was or like when you play Navy, you play Navy or Army, you don't see that style of offense. So that's why this is going to be a little bit of a tricky game for Dallas. You don't see that style of play. I say Dallas is going to lose that ball game. I do. I think Dallas loses that game. Then you've got both the Eagles and Washington that are playing decent football. Look, the Giant game, I get it. We're all disappointed in that. DB talking again says, doesn't that go to show you, though? 31 passing attempts. Isn't like it's 41 or 51. It's horrific. Okay, well, get this, though. But if you have an offensive line, man, that you're gaining 6'3" a carry, who cares if you throw the ball 4 times? See, I don't get that. It doesn't have to look pretty. Allison says, should GT run the triple option again? You want to hear something, Allison? That was pretty crazy about Georgia Tech. Calvin Johnson came out of that system. Calvin Johnson went to Georgia Tech. How did Calvin Johnson come out of Georgia Tech and become a first ballot Hall of Famer? That's remarkable. Calvin Johnson was a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket. And they don't throw the ball, or they didn't when he was there. Steve says, name one first run quarterback that won a Super Bowl. We need a passing quarterback. Jalen ain't it. So you think that all these quarterbacks coming out of college are not changing the landscape a little bit in the NFL? Justin Herbert runs. I agree with you, though. You have to have a 7-step drop guy to win a ball game. Okay? Smile says, is Harbaugh and his Wolverines choke against Iowa this weekend? No, they don't choke against Iowa. I think they punch their ticket and they make it happen. Matt Hatter said Steve Young is the first running quarterback to probably win a Super Bowl. That's probably fair. Matt Hatter, that's probably fair. Steve Young was one of the greatest. When he retired from the game, I think he was the most accurate, quarterback in NFL history when he left the game. So, yeah. Justin Herbert, pass first, though. He is. He is a pass first, though. He is a pass first. Israel says, Hurts throwing really is an issue. It is an issue. It absolutely is an issue. All right, listen, guys, having a little issue with my connection here on my end here. I'm going to take a timeout. We're going to get Rick Gosselin. He'll join us here in a couple seconds here, too, from Talk of Fame Network. I want to hit on this one thing here. We do give him the remainder of the year to be evaluated, correct? We do give him the remainder of the year. All right? We've got to be able to give Jalen the remainder of the year. All right, we'll take a brief timeout. You keep it right here on the National Football Show.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Welcome back. National Football Show, your boy Dan Sileo. Rick Gosselin will join us in a couple minutes. What to do and how to evaluate moving forward here with the team, with the quarterback. I've said these to you before, and I'll say it again. I'm sold on the kid. I know everyone. Mike Golic is sold on the kid. Okay? Mike Golic is sold on him, as I am. Because I'm looking at the overall body of work here. That's what I'm looking at. And when I see how the kid handles himself, by the way, when I watch him handle himself in defeat too, compared to, say, Baker Mayfield, and I see how Baker handles himself, I'm actually thrilled to death that his maturity is able for him to see that he has to also be the face of the franchise. Guys, Baker Mayfield is the worst example of that. You know, I'll tell you something else too about Dak Prescott. You know, Dak Prescott doesn't really take ownership for when he plays bad or poorly. I think it is something here for me when I see a quarterback that owns up to being the guy who, you always hear Brady saying this, hey man, I got to play better. And when they win, we played great. When we're bad, it's on me. When we're good, it's we. It's got to be that way. And Jalen does that. That's a comforting thing knowing as the evaluation. One thing you don't have to worry about with the kid is this. The guy's a leader. Okay? Steve H is saying this. Big Sills, chill out, bro. You're drinking the Hurts Kool-Aid. Steve, but where are you going? Where are you going, though? Where are you going if it's not Jalen Hurts? You know, I personally think you guys got lucky that you had such a quarterback in the wings. You got lucky, guys. Okay? Because this thing could have been an even bigger train wreck. We see this all the time. you move off of a guy and then you move on to somebody and you're like this. Like, here, I'll give it to you. Look at Carolina. Do you think they're really happy right now with Sam Darnold? They made that move. They got out to that 3-0 start, and they were doing this. Wow, man, this guy's unbelievable. He's phenomenal. He's fantastic. Right? And everybody's going like this. Wow, man, this guy can really play. He's and all of a sudden, he started going the other way. He started seeing the turnovers again, and then he started going like this. All right. Right? You started seeing that a little bit. And before you know it, you're going like this. Well, maybe he ain't the guy. That's propelled them to sign Cam Newton and give Cam Newton even more money. Fly says, Lamar had 4 picks. Are the Ravens looking to replace him? Absolutely not, Fly. Sarcasm is awesome there. You're damn right. But you know what, too, Fly? The one thing in the end, we all saw this, though, too, right? Lamar make a play to get them the victory. Lamar making the play to get the victory, right? Absolutely. Guy's a good football player, man. Guy's borderline on a great football player. And I'm with you on that. I'm all good, man. I have no issues with what we're seeing. But again, the evaluation on him is going to be a tough one here. Because it does come down to the owner's style again. Is the owner going to be comfortable in the building with the style that Jalen Hurts has as a quarterback? And then to build a team around him. By the way, do you know that I think it wouldn't shock me if maybe in this coming offseason, would we say this? Christian McCaffrey may be out there on the open market. You see, Christian McCaffrey is injured again, done for the season. These running backs, and get this, my boy Xander brought this up. Xander goes, Todd Gurley, all these guys, Ezekiel Elliott, Christian McCaffrey, they signed 3 of the biggest contracts in running back history. And they're all either injured or out of the league. What does that tell you? Right? That running back position, and that's how the Eagles are looking at it. So the Eagles are going like this. Okay, if we have to invest, and where I'm going with this is, if you invest in that style, you got to invest in running backs. You've got to have somebody back there like a Shady McCoy back there. You've got to have somebody in that building that's going to be able to run the ball for you effectively. Especially taking advantage clearly of that offensive line. DB talking now. Luria wants a top 5 passing offense. Hey, I want a Ferrari. I just want to win ball games. Big Chris. I like the kid on the Colts. Jonathan Taylor. He's a spectacular player. Mike P. Running backs are rental cars. Use them up, replace them with fresh eggs. That's a Bill Parcells mentality. Willie, passing gets you on TV. Jeffrey wants that. You're damn right. That's a mistake too, though. And that's what got him in trouble in the Meadowlands. William Steele, we have a low-budget Jordan Howard. Eastside Monster, how you feel about Jerry Jones saying Zeke is going to get more reps? He's trying to get that money to pay off for him now. Why wouldn't he? Why shouldn't he? You're paying that guy $17 million. And if you're Jerry Jones, don't you have to figure out whether or not that guy's going to be a future part of your football team? You're paying Ezekiel Elliott $75 million this year. You understand that? You're paying that guy $75 million. And speaking of the Cowboys, let's get over to my friend from Talk of Fame Network, Rick Gosselin, Pro Football Hall of Fame voter as well. And I'm going to start it off, and I'm going to go backwards a little bit here, Rick. And you tell me, what's wrong with the Cowboys?
Well, you paid a quarterback, what, $180 million to be a franchise quarterback, and when he has elite weapons, he's an elite quarterback. When he doesn't have elite weapons, he plays down to the level of the cast. And right now, the running back is not right. The last 2 weeks they've lost, and they were missing 2 of their top 3 receivers. And he's not a guy. He's not Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or Drew Brees, who's going to elevate the play of those around him. He needs the elite cast to be an elite quarterback. And right now, they do not have the elite cast on the field.
But Rick, that doesn't sound like a $42 million a year guy that I'm giving that money to. And when people talk to me about market value, well, to me, I'm not getting value out of that. I pay you that money to cover situations that if my team is down a receiver, I have to have musical chairs in my offensive line. I mean, the last few weeks, that doesn't look like a guy that can carry a football team. If one thing is off, to say there's one spark plug out of the engine, this guy doesn't look like he could carry a football team to me. Am I overstating that, or am I somewhere in there?
No, that's the NFL today. You're paying on hope. You're hoping this guy can be your franchise quarterback. It's when the Rams gave that big contract to Jared Goff, they were hoping he'd be the guy. And that's what the Cowboys. The Cowboys, they looked at Prescott's 13-3 rookie season and looked at his Pro Bowls and said, something, we think he can be our guy, so he's worth the investment. And now we're finding out, he needs the elite cast around him to be an elite quarterback.
Will this football team miss Mike McCarthy? He's going into COVID protocols, and I'm thinking from what I heard is Dan Quinn will take over coaching responsibilities as the head coach this coming weekend, or this coming Thursday against the Saints here. Will the Cowboys miss really Mike McCarthy's voice in the locker room?
Dan Quinn has stood on the sideline of the Super Bowl. I mean, if anybody can just step in and pick up the reins, it would be Dan Quinn. They have great confidence in Quinn. He's done a really good job with his defense this year, getting sacks, getting takeaways, which they didn't do last year. And he's been in front of teams. I don't think they'll be missing anything head coaching wise. And it's not like Mike is calling the plays. Kellen Moore is calling the offensive plays. Dan Quinn's calling the defensive plays. So no, I think they'll be okay. They were used to the one voice, but Quinn's got a pretty good voice. I wouldn't worry about that. You touched on it before I came on, and I think the key is Elliott. I thought this team could compete for a Super Bowl if Elliott pursued a rushing title. He's not done that. In the last 5 weeks, his yards have completely gone down. In fact, 4 of the worst games of his 83-game career have come in the last 4 weeks. 2 of the worst 3 games of his career have come in the last 2 weeks. They can't win with Elliott getting 9 carries for 32 yards or 25 yards. This guy's got to be rushing for 100 yards. And again, if he's running the ball, that makes Prescott a better quarterback. Right now, you're not slowing down the pass rush. There's no threat to run the ball. Here they come. And Prescott under pressure, he's been under duress a lot this season. 2 weeks ago, he was sacked 5 times by the Chiefs, and that wasn't a great pass rush. And the offensive line is hurt. The weapons aren't there. This team is a mess. Fortunately, the Saints have lost 4 in a row. And the Saints look like a beatable team, especially if they start Hill, give his first start at quarterback position. They got 4 fairly soft games coming up. Saints, Washington twice, the Giants once. They could conceivably win 4 in a row, but not the way they played the last 2 weeks.
How about this too? You mentioned Ezekiel Elliott. Is it me, or is it just the way the running back situation is set up in the league today? Look at this, man. You give Todd Gurley that bag of money. You give Zeke a bag of money. Now you're giving Christian McCaffrey a bag of money, and he's out for the season.
Right.
And he's been banged up the last 2 years. Rick, it's not so much that people diminish the running back position, but it's such a tasking position that people don't really want to put the investment in. The Cowboys clearly are behind and underwater in this Ezekiel Elliott deal because they're not getting the return on their investment.
Right.
And have we learned something here moving forward that, unless you're somebody like even Derrick Henry now, I mean, he's out. He got hurt, and there's only so many carries that you have. Nobody's Emmitt Smith. You're not going to see 350 carries in a season any longer. Is that just the new NFL running back of today?
Yeah, all the rules are set up so that you pass the ball. Put the football in the air. And you want backs that can also be receivers. I still think the running game is important. We saw last night, Washington ran the ball very well. Matter of fact, last 3 games with 3-game winning streak. Washington's run the ball very well. You can still win running the ball, but you draft a guy in the first round like Elliott, and he's got a 5-year contract, and then the concern is giving him the second contract. He was a heavy volume back those first 2-3 years. He took a lot of hits, and he's a physical runner. If he's not taking a hit, he's giving a hit, and those bodies break down. And it's like you said, Derrick Henry, another guy who's now hurt. They take a beating during the course of a game, during the course of a season. And the feeling is you can get these guys. You look at, there are 2 4th-round draft picks last April, running backs that have 100-yard games this season, and there are 2 6th-round draft picks last April who have 100-yard rushing games. The feeling is if you got the great passing attack, you can get by with a lesser runner. But when you make the investment the Cowboys have made in Elliott, you can't have a lesser runner. He's got to be a guy who chases a rushing title for the next 2 or 3 years, and it doesn't look like he's going to do that.
Rick, I want to throw this at you too. I'm going to make a comparison on what's going on in Los Angeles with the Rams. I brought this up. Do you know that when Jared Goff was his last 5 years in Los Angeles, 4 of the 5 years, they were 7-4 after the 11 game mark, and they're 7-4 now.
Right.
But you gave up 2 first-rounders and a third, get Stafford in for the same result on where you were the last 4 or 5 years. To me, I'm looking at it and I'm going, wow, man, I don't know if I'm really happy with that return and what I gave up for him. I look at Dak Prescott. I gave him $75 million this year. I look at the Cowboys. I don't see a guy that we mentioned just a couple minutes ago that could carry a team if there's any deficiencies in the offense, or even maybe even on the other side of the ball defensively. He looks very pedestrian. I mean, Jerry and Steven, do you look at it? I'm not saying buyer's remorse here, and I don't want to use the word exposed, but we're kind of getting a true sense of what Dak Prescott is. That game manager thing, which is okay to have. I know quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls being that guy. It's all right. How do you think they're assessing Dak Prescott now after the whole serenading, getting the contract done, and where they are today?
I think the Cowboys feel that when they get Cooper and Lamb back, they'll be fine. The offense will be fine. Now, I'm not sure it will. Again, the running game's a big part of his success. They haven't been able to run a ball. The offensive line has been underachieving, and they've had some injuries. So, but they're looking at the schedule. If they think they can win the next 4, they get the receivers back, they'll be back, throwing for 300 yards a game and scoring a lot of points. But again, last year the Packers came in here and Aaron Rodgers came in here and he was missing a couple wide receivers. They signed a guy on Saturday, and he threw a touchdown pass to that guy on Sunday. Prescott can't do that. Prescott doesn't raise the level of play of the guys around him. He needs to make Noah Brown and Cedric Wilson, 1A and 1B receivers. Aaron Rodgers can do it. Brady, Breeze, those guys can do it. Prescott is not that type of guy. He needs the cast to elevate his play.
Absolutely, man. So again, I mean, I would think that they're happy with where they are right now, but they're leading the division. They're going to get a shot at potentially getting to an NFC Championship game this year. Real quick here, I want to throw an NFL question at you. Pete Carroll and his resume. And I would say this to you, after watching that team last night against Washington, and Tyler Heineke has just absolutely surprised me. He's 1-on-1 against Tom Brady.
Right.
I mean, there's something about the kid. I really like the guy. And Seattle was never really in that game. Russell Wilson played poorly. I doubt he's still a Seahawk next year. I mean, 70 years old it's the age right now of Pete Carroll. You think it's time for a change in Seattle?
Yeah, I don't know that Pete wants to go through another complete rebuild. I mean, that's a 3 or 4 year project, and he's probably 74, 75 before he gets back to where he wants that team to be. And there's no guarantee if Wilson's gone, and I agree with you. I think Wilson and Rodgers are both going to force their way out this offseason. If Wilson is gone, you don't have the quarterback. And you may not find that quarterback in the next 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, or in Detroit's case, 50 years. So I don't know. At 7 years of age and come out this season, it might be a good time for Pete to walk.
You think he's a Hall of Famer?
One Super Bowl does not make you a Hall of Fame coach, in my eyes. You got to stack him. I think he's a borderline guy. We're still debating whether Mike Shanahan is Tom Coughlin. Those guys both won too, and we're not sure if they belong in. And then you start talking about the one-time winners. You know, if they'd run the ball against the Patriots and won 2, I think he'd have a much stronger case. But they threw it.
Finally here, you know, these giant contracts that we're seeing now in college football. I mean, it's unbelievable right now when you see Brian Kelly getting 10 years, $95 million. You see Lincoln Riley right in that same conversation. You know, I never thought I'd say this, but what's a better level of coaching if you're one of these premier guys? I mean, take a look at it. If you're Cliff Kingsbury now, I think he's making $4.4 million in Arizona. The Oklahoma job comes up. They're going to give him $12 million. There's just a $10 million offer on the table for 10 years, $95 million. I mean, I don't know, Rick, but to me, if I was one of these coaches in the NFL, that's instant security, buyout money, everything. I mean, the college level, there's a ton of money there, whereas these NFL coaches, they're not making the same money they were making back in the day.
Yeah, but the college coaches, you're depending on 18, 19-year-old kids, and recruiting is a year-round job now with texting and things. And you got that transfer portal, which has changed the whole dynamic of college football. I think there are more headaches. There's probably more money, but I think there are more headaches at the college level. You know, in the NFL, if you get a Russell Wilson, you got him for 10 years. You know, it's like Clemson. Clemson had a good run with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. They don't have the quarterback now, and they're back, you know, on a slide. So I think there's greater security in the NFL if you get your quarterback. And college, I think there's more headaches, more money, but more headaches.
Absolutely. Rick, I appreciate it. We'll see what happens on Thursday night. I think that's going to be a tough game. Do you agree it's going to be a tough game for the Cowboys on Thursday? They are getting people back on defense, are the Saints? It's a well-coached football team. You think that thing's close?
Oh, I think Sean Payton will have all kinds of tricks for the Cowboys. Sean used to coach here, and I always thought that at some point he'll wind up as a head coach here. I think he'll have all kinds of tricks for the Cowboys that night. I think the Cowboys are the better team. The Cowboys should win, but Peyton will make it interesting. I guarantee it.
Absolutely. Rick, I appreciate it. Thank you, brother.
Hey, Dan. Take care.
You got it. All right, guys, do me a favor. Please like the show. Hit that like button. You guys have been sensational. Did you hear what he said? Dak Prescott is a game manager. Are you okay with that? Okay? Because this goes in, we're criticizing Jalen Hurts, a guy who covers the Cowboys on a daily basis and has been covering the Cowboys for 35 years. Just said he can't carry that team across the finish line if all the components. Aren't we saying that the same thing about Jalen Hurts? I want to hit on that. We'll do it next. Please hit that like button. Keep it right here on the National Football Show.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Welcome back, National Football Show. Dan Sileo. Man, if I'm Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, what's his football team right now? 9-2? And it's being reported that he was offered 10 years, $95 million to coach Oklahoma. How don't you take that job? Steve Keim at the beginning of the year, the general manager of the Cardinals, said that this is a playoff roster and that they needed to show improvement. Well, they did. And they've actually showed improvement every year that he's been in the NFL. And I get he was not very successful at Texas Tech. And if you're Oklahoma, you got to kind of look at that. But man, 10 years, $95 million. That is a lot of coin for Norman, Oklahoma. Dude, I don't know. Man, coaching in the college level today, there is bags of money on it. You're one of these elite guys. And look, you don't even really have to win championships. Look at what Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly have commanded. These guys are really good football coaches, but they're not Knicks. How about this? Let me ask you guys something. I bet you my boy Xander love this one here. And even at his age, if Nick Saban was on the open market, how much money do you think he'd be worth a year to some team to set up a system like he has at Alabama now? What would you pay him per year? What would be the money? You're giving Brian Kelly $9.5 million to coach LSU. And you're giving Riley almost the same. What would Saban's salary be if he was a free agent today? Birdman says he has 10 times the results. He does. If these bozos are all worth $10 million, Dan, Saban's got to be worth $20 million. You would pay Nick Saban $20 million a year if he was in the open market. That's Dabo Swinney too. Dabo Swinney has at least won national championships. He had a down year this year, but that's what even makes Saban even more insane. Is that Saban does, you know what his down year is this year? And they're 11-1 going to the SEC championship game this weekend. That is fucking crazy. What success? You're down and you're in the SEC title game at 11-1 and you tripped up against A&M. Oh, by the way, you were in the SEC. Let me say this to you too, and I'm going to throw this out to you. The reason that cowardly lion known as Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma, you think he wanted to get his ass kicked by Saban in the Southeastern Conference? He knew that shitty Oklahoma program, once they were in the SEC, they'd be lucky to win 7 ball games. They would be Vanderbilt. So he goes to the least resistance program in SC. You're in the sorry-ass Pac-12. Who, Oregon? Okay. Chip Kelly? Kind of. An up-and-down Dennis Shaw team? Or David Shaw, excuse me, in Stanford? Really? There's nothing in that conference that scares me. And he's the toast of the town in L.A. It's least resistance. That's not going to tell me how good a coach Lincoln Riley is. That's an opportunist thing. He didn't want to coach in the Southeastern Conference because you know why? Every house he shows up to. Think of this for a second. every single house that Lincoln Riley would show up to in the SEC, he'd always be the second or third dude in that conference. Oh, Alabama was here? Oh, Alabama was here? And by the way, do I think, I hear all these guys talking to me about, well, Lincoln Riley, this is going to be a grand slam for them in Southern Cal. Xander thinks it's going to be a grand slam as well. Here's why I don't. You really think you're going to convince kids to play in a lesser conference at 10:30 at night back in the East? Kids say from Ohio, Texas, Florida, Louisiana. You really think you're going to go to Southern Cal to play at 10:30 at night back at the Eastern time zone? Nobody even knows who you are out there. They've been not relevant. So what do? And because of COVID restrictions, let me tell you what else the coronavirus does. I'm not traveling to California, sitting out there with all their restrictions and have to go and apply and deal with all their restrictions. I'm going to play in the SEC where I don't have to worry about anything. I can get in an airplane or I can get in a car and drive home. If I live in Louisiana or if I live in Mississippi or if I live in Georgia or Florida, I get in a car and drive home. I'm not going out to Los Angeles just because it's LA. More eyeballs are going to be on me in the SEC. People are stupid with that. Why do you think Ole Miss and Mississippi and schools like that in the SEC and A&M and all them places have gotten better? Because kids don't have to go anywhere anymore because of television and because of the exposure of the SEC. Why would I go out west or go to the Big Ten like they used to back in the day when I could stay at home and play at Ole Miss now for Kiffin? Okay? Well, why would I want to do that? Because it's SC? SC doesn't have the same shine it once had. Notre Dame doesn't have the same shine it once had. Television has changed that. Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida. That's your schedule. When you play out west, it's Oregon. It's Utah. It's Arizona State. It's Arizona. There's nothing against those schools. But it ain't like that in the Southeastern Conference. Even the Big Ten. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Michigan State. They even have more punch than what the Pac-12 has. So you think you're really going to be a better recruiter trying to keep those kids in Los Angeles and in the LA area because it's Lincoln Riley? Good luck, man. I want to see this work because he never delivered a national championship in Norman. And I want to see what has he won? Every time he gets into a championship setting, he gets annihilated. Same thing with Brian Kelly. And if I'm a defensive guy like I was, a 5-star kid or 4-star kid, why would I go play at Southern Cal? They don't believe in defense on his coaching staff. But there is a ton of money. Luke Finkel now is the lead candidate to get the Notre Dame job. He's a great candidate. I think he'd be a great hire there. So I'm the money that's being thrown around. Oh, and by the way, one last thing here on this LSU hire with Brian Kelly. You know what's crazy? Who got the easier job? Who do you think gets his football team to the Final Four first? Lincoln Riley or Brian Kelly? Who do you think gets their team in a championship setting first? Who's going to have more pressure? The way I look at it, people at SC don't want to fire you, really. Okay? They don't want to fire you. Look how long they kept Clay Helton. Look at what they did to Coach Orgeron. Okay? Think of this for a second. 2 years ago, he won a national championship. And they fired him. Clay Helton got a lifetime to coach USC. The pressure at SC is not what people think it is. Or Clay Helton would have been fired 3 years ago. I mean, when Coach O won when he won that super moment for LSU and he won that national championship, the clock started ticking. He had a bad year, and it was a COVID year. He's the only coach in the country that was held to the standard of not being able to use COVID. James Franklin was given that. You know, James Franklin is 11-10-0 in the last 21 ball games at Penn State. And he just got a $95 million contract, too. Why? I'm with Howard Eskin. I think that guy's a bullshit artist. I mean, what has he done in the last 20-some-odd games that makes you do this? Holy shit, man. This guy's really a great coach. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see what people are looking at right now when it comes to him. All right. Real quick here. One thing that the Eagles have to do, you got to put this Giant game behind you here. You got to completely put this Giant game behind you. Jets are coming up. Guys, they have one of the worst defensive lines in the NFL. Hope they learned a lesson from that Giants game. Okay? I hope they learned a lesson. Run the freaking ball. Get that Reagor kid off the field. Target Watkins more. Make him your deep threat. Target Smith more. And the number one guy, you should be working in Dallas Goedert so much more than what you did. 1 catch, no yards last week against the Giants. Why the hell are you paying him? Brady. Do you notice the difference when Brady and Gronkowski are on the field? I mean, when Gronk is on the field, Brady's a different player. He's a completely different football player. And without having Gronk on the field against the Colts, I don't think the Buccaneers are going to win that ball game. And I know Fournette had all those touchdowns in that game, but to me, it was because of what Gronk brought to that team. One of the best blockers there is. One of the absolutely best tight end catchers of all time. Him and Kellen Winslow have to be, and I'm talking senior, have to be the 2 greatest pass-catching tight ends in history that were able to block at the point of attack and also were able to catch the football. I'm not really much on Jason Witten and Kelsey and them dudes. Gronk's a game-changing tight end. He's one of the best pass-blocking tight ends in history. He's like Bavaro. He's like Bavaro and Ozzie Newsome all in one. That's kind of what you get when you're talking about somebody like Gronkowski. Spectacular. Dallas Goedert's got that same kind of makeup. He is a little bit more like a Jason Witten, but for me, in that whole dynamic there, you got to get him more involved. And that also protects you. 20 passes, 15 passes, 21. And I know some of you are going like this, but that's not really an NFL offense. And I hear that all the time from people. Sills, the Eagles aren't running an NFL offense. Do you think they're running an NFL offense in Tennessee? You really think that's an NFL offense? Or how about what they're running up in Seattle? You think that's an NFL offense with no running attack? They go out and they try to draft Rashard Penny out of San Diego State. The guy stinks out loud. All predicated off the running attack. Look at how well Jalen plays. Okay? Look at how well he plays when he has a running game going. Against this Jets team, if you see them going back and falling back into the same thing that they did, okay, in that Giants game, they are putting Jalen Hurts in a position to fail. As I opened up the show, guys, the more he passes, the more this kid is being set up for failure. You've got to be able to put him in a position to be successful. And the only way you do that is running the ball. And you've got to run the ball against this Jets team. Then you've got the bye. Then you can get healthy. Then you've got a scenario where at the end of the day here, guess what, guys? You look at it like this. Okay, we're going to be able to do some things here, and we're going to be able to win some ball games because we're going at 6'3" a carry. Absolutely, guys. So make no mistake about it. Run that ball. Run that ball. All right, guys, I really appreciate it. Please do me a favor. Like the show. You guys have been great. Guys have been absolutely sensational, as you always are. Hey, man, if you missed any of the show, first hour we had Mike Golic. He was kind of like a surprise add-in at the very end. Hey, man, Dan loved the show. You get right down to shit. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it, man. We have a lot of fun here. That's all. Nobody's really going crazy here or anything like that. So we really appreciate everybody. Please hit that like button. Guys, till tomorrow, 4 to 6. We're still trying to run down Baldinger and see if he can find some time for us tomorrow to talk about the Eagles as they get ready for that Jets game and the Cowboys and Saints. Guys, that's going to be a game to keep an eye on. Matt Hatter, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow, 4 to 6 Eastern. Catch you on the flip side.